And this is what I'm saying, the connection that between every action or reaction, there are these connections. Before Christmas, we had a farmer in Stratford, Ontario. He just hired a young Mennonite farmer that loved his cattle. He loved the job he was doing, and he projected that love. And 2 days before Christmas, the farmer gave him his Christmas gift, and the passenger train went by on the train tracks, because the laneway goes over the train tracks. He was going out of the yard, happy, life was good, looking at what the farmer gave him, and a freight train came down and whacked that car, threw him up in the air, gave him a concussion, broke his ribs. A miracle he survived. Every cow in that barn, so I get kind of emotional with this stuff, they stopped eating and they stopped milking. They felt that accident even if they didn't see it. And this is where we are today with ourselves. We're becoming more emotional. Why I'm saying this is because all these lines coming in out of the body we are representing the earth. And we're supposed to have energy coming through from the earth, up through our feet, and at the top of our head. We have an incredible potential as human beings now. We're not using a fraction of our abilities with our brain. And what I want to do, part of it is to show you how you can do this. Now, I'm working with farmers all around the world, and we can operate anywhere in the world. From where we are, we can project our mind thought to anywhere, and we can actually change things. We have situations where we have ground current that comes across the field. So we can actually, you see the energy comes in the back of the head and out through the third eye. You could use that as focus to plant trees, 60-foot trees, and you can actually plant, I use the Empress tree because it's got huge leaves on it. Because it's in the ethers, it's not affected. The farmers can work the fields. But ironically, those trees are actually harvesting greenhouse gases and putting them in the soil, even if physical, they're not there. Etherically, they are. And what we're able to do now is where we have ground current come across, if through our mind, put a wire across and ground it into a stream to pick that up and take it away from the farms. We have a lot of trouble today with solar panels. When the sunshine, the radiation comes off is really affecting animals. And there's one up in Arnprior, 2 miles before you get to the solar farm, your cell phone dies. Last week I had a farmer, they had 2 farms side by side. One had solar panels up and a Wi-Fi on his house. The other had the Wi-Fi, and then he put solar panels up. And as soon as they come online, that Wi-Fi disappeared. It was gone. So what we do now in those situations, we take you're familiar with chicken wire. It's just wire full of little holes to keep the chickens where they're supposed to be. We can put a fence around those solar panels and over the top and stop that radiation coming off. So the things that do affect us on a day-to-day basis are emotions. And this is something we found out years and years ago when an Indian village was wiped out with smallpox. Those emotions stayed in the soil, nothing grew, until we lifted those emotions out. Now, I use the 12 universes around ours, and one of them, the sun went into a supernova, so the whole universe is on fire. So that's a good place to dump all the trash. And so anything that's, you know, toxic, like an emotion or that kind of thing, or well, heavy metals, and I can send them there to dispose of them, because you don't want to be pulling them out of people and throwing them in rivers on this earth or in the oceans. You know, we've got to start being more cautious. So if I'm dealing with bacteria, like we'll say E. coli, Staphylococcus, or Streptococcus, and of course I use the pendulum as my means of knowing what I'm doing. I ask permission, can I, or may I, or should I? And then I will send those E. coli back to the universe from where they came from. The Staphylococcus I will send off. And every time you send something out, you have to fill the void so it don't come back. So you fill it with white light, God's love, whichever you want to call it. And again, people, they have emotional things happen in their lives. Love lost, love gone wrong, and their heart shuts down, so it never opens up unless it's, you know, physically done, and there are ways you can do that. And you know, this is if somebody don't have any energy in their heart, then that's where you get a lot of heart problems coming in, and it's consistent with every part of your body. Like there are a lot of these things that come down the karmic thread or genetically from your grandparents, your parents, that affect you today emotionally. They may have, you know, I've seen so many of these things where people have been raped, and it's almost like it's passed on to everywhere down the line. It's crazy how these things control our lives. You know, I had a lady come in one day. Her mother had her gallbladder out. Her grandmother had her gallbladder out when she was 16, and her daughter was going in the hospital next week to have a gallbladder out. I mean, it's crazy. So when we're looking for balance, everything has to be in balance, half and half. You know, and this has been illustrated from around the world. Like in London on Templar Mount, there are two churches built by the Knights of Templars, or the Templars. One was a male that had the sword pointing up, and the other one was a female with the sword pointing down. So they understood the balance, and that's how these natives built these energy wheels. They had them half positive, half negative, and they had no fleas, they had no flies, they had nothing in the environment. It was just in balance, and everything enhanced its immune system. So what we're doing now, you know, we run into situations where on the farms, farmers have egos, and they can be greed, and that affects the animals. Believe it or not, you know, it affects the animals. And we are now tutoring people to leave their emotions at the door, so to speak, and stay on the positive side, because thinking positively. I had one farmer who wanted to be the top herd in the county. He got up every morning. He's going to have the highest milk production in the county. He did that for years and years and years, because the cows read his mind. They know, they read your mind. You know, and this is the thing, that everything is connected, so plants, you know, they have the same feelings. And so what we find is people today will have the left brain at 25%, the right brain at 75%. So what I've been able to do now is balance the left to the right and the right to the left until I get both hemispheres balanced at 100%.